And you mentioned also social media, very important, what is happening on social media, especially coming from Sudan, from Sudanese organizations of women and young people. And that's why we move to our next speaker, who is an expert and we are really happy to welcome Mr. Khaled Omar Youssef, who is a political leader, civilian advocate, and former minister in Sudan's transitional government. We are really honored to have him today because he is the only speaker who is Sudanese coming to share his knowledge about from the ground about the issue. Mr. Khaled Omar Youssef is a political leader, long-time advocate for democracy, civil rights and peace, and his political journey began in 1999 as a student activist resisting the authoritarian rule of the Muslim Brotherhood regime in Sudan. In 2003, he was elected to the University of Khartoum Students' Union, marking the first democratically elected opposition-led student union since 1990. This pivotal moment not only revived the student movement, but also symbolized a resurgence of democratic activism under repressive conditions. Khaled studied civil engineering at the University of Khartoum and later pursued a higher diploma in development and public policy. In 2005, the Sudanese Congress Party as a progressive opposition force. 2 years later, at the age of 28, he was elected Secretary General of the party, the youngest Sudanese ever to hold such a position. Under his leadership, the party expanded its national presence and helped lay the groundwork for a broader pro-democracy coalition between 2011 and 2014. Khaled was active in the youth movement Sudan Change Now, which organized nationwide protests demanding democratic reforms and an end to one-party rule. During the 3 decades of the Islamist rule in Sudan, he was arrested more than 10 times for his political activism. Following years of civic resistance, Khaled played a leading role in the formation of the Forces of Freedom and Change just before the outbreak of 2018-2019 revolution. The FFC became the main civilian coalition that led the nationwide protests culminating in the ousting of President Omar al-Bashir. Khaled was among those who negotiated the transitional arrangements, while the military paving the way for a civilian-led government. He later served as a Minister of Cabinet Affairs in the transitional government led by Prime Minister Dr. Abdallah Hamdok, where he coordinated the work of all ministries. During that period, Sudan witnessed a marked improvement in government performance. And in October 25th, 2021, after the military coup, he was detained along with other civilian leaders. Upon his release, he continued to resist the coup and engage in political dialogue aiming at restoring the democratic transition. Since the outbreak of the war in April 2023, Mr. Khaled has remained a steadfast advocate for peace and for the restoration of democracy. He played a key role in founding Tagadum and later Sumud civilian platforms created in response to the war to unite democratic civilian forces and advance inclusive civilian-led efforts to end the conflict and build lasting peace in Sudan. Beyond this, his organizational leadership, Mr. Khaled has continued to contribute through writing, lectures, and public speaking. Thank you very much for being here. So this is your biography, but most importantly, thank you for sharing your knowledge about what is happening right in Sudan. And we are really honored to have you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Malal. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity just to share some remarks about the crisis that's happening in my country, in Sudan. And just to state some facts at the beginning. The numbers of those who have been affected in Sudan is telling the major part of the story. When you say 14 million has been displaced, all of us acknowledge the catastrophe that took place in Gaza, but 14 million is 7 times the population of Gaza. This is the number of displacement. 25 million that in need for food, this is more than 12 times of the population of Gaza. And this humanitarian catastrophe, it is by number the biggest on the earth now. But unfortunately, even if there is some news or some light about what's happening in Sudan, it is affected by organized disinformation campaign that's hiding the real truth behind this war. The second point, that it is very important to know there is no military solution for the crisis in Sudan. Now, for more than 2.5 years, the situation on the ground changed, sometimes in favor of this side, the other time in favor of the other side. They are crushing the Sudanese people. Both of them are committing horrible crimes against the innocent civilians. And it is not a simple war between two generals, or between evil and good, or between the state and rebels. It is more complicated than that. And to end this humanitarian catastrophe, it is very important to understand the root causes of the problem, which absent from most of the coverage, as far as they know, that I saw it in the international media. As some of the distinguished guests mentioned, the first civil war in Sudan started at 1955, and it took 18 years till we reached to a peace agreement in 1972 in Addis Ababa. There is a pause, and then the war started again in 1983. It continued for 22 years, and it ended by as well peace agreement and the separation of Sudan to two countries, Sudan and South Sudan. Another war started in Darfur 2003. It took 17 years to reach to a peace agreement in 2020 after the December revolution. So all the civil wars that took place in Sudan, no one war that has been won by any side. It took very long time. It was very destructive and very bloody. And every civil war in Sudan led to the other one. There is no one peace agreement that address the root causes of the problem of Sudan and give an end to all wars in Sudan. What is really behind this series of civil war? That Sudan is a very diverse country. It has been now ruled for more than 50 years by the military. And the military established totalitarian regimes that deny the diversity of the country and led to instability and civil wars. But the problem became even worse when the Islamists penetrated the army and they captured the state. When I hear all the talk about the Islamists all around the world, we are the only country on the earth that has been ruled by the Muslim Brotherhood for 3 decades. And it was not a minor branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. It was the base for all the other Islamist networks. Sudan used to be the host for the terrorists from the west and the east. Bin Laden and Carlos found no better place to work from rather than Sudan. Most of the Muslim Brotherhood leaders used to be based in Sudan using Sudanese passport to move around the world. The Black Decade of Algeria, which happened in 1992, that has been even by the statement of the founder of the Islamic movement in Sudan, Hassan al-Turabi, it has been masterminded and supported and financed by the Sudanese Muslim Brotherhood. The bombing of the American embassy in Nairobi, in Dar es Salaam, it has been planned by groups that use the Sudanese soil to terrorize the world. The assassination attempt of the Egyptian president, Hosni Mubarak, it happened by a group that being supported by the Sudanese regime. This regime also, as you said, Mr. Hez said before, the support to Hamas used to have a very active office in Khartoum. The leaders of Hamas as well have no better place to be but Khartoum. Khalid Mish'al and others used to use Khartoum as their base. But this is not only the story. The smuggling of the arms through the desert used to be coming from Sudan. And because of that, the Israelis before bombed Sudan twice. One inside Khartoum for an arms factory, and another one in the route of smuggling of the arms to Gaza. So what I'm saying is the Muslim Brotherhood branch in Sudan actually is the headquarters. It is the main base, and actually it is the only country that they managed to capture it for this long time. They use all the resources of the state to spread their project. And the project of the Muslim Brotherhood is, this actually is the rule. This is a fact. Even if they rule 1 square kilometer, the aim will be to expand their outreach. It doesn't matter whether they are controlling a big country or a small territory. They use what they have to expand their project. And this is because their project is, they are expansionist and they are interventionist. And this is their story in Sudan. When they ruled Sudan, it was not enough for them. They took expansion, their outreach. They brought all the Muslim Brotherhood networks to Sudan and start planning to rule the whole Arab and Muslim world. And interventionists, they engaged in regime change projects in the region. And this will lead me to the elephant in the room, many trying to hide from about the nature of the war in Sudan. The Muslim Brotherhood has been toppled through public uprising in Sudan. Millions of the Sudanese went to the street and said, enough is enough. They toppled al-Bashir, but because they are penetrating the security sector, because they are capturing the state, they organized a counter-revolution. It started by the coup in 2021. When the coup failed, they took the country for a full civil war. And now the role is very clear. Since the war started, they have interest in the continuation of the war, because it is the only way for them to get back to power again. They are using the chaos that's happening now in Sudan to empower themselves. That's why they stood against every single peace initiative in Sudan since the start of the war. They were against the first initiative of Jeddah, the American Saudi initiative. They were against the AU initiative. They were against the IGAD initiative. They are against the UN initiative. And now they are against one initiative because they are benefiting from the continuation of the war. And that's why I'm saying, by ignoring the role of the Islamists, the war will never stop in Sudan. Because if you want to stop the war in Sudan, you have to target the spoiler. You have to target those who are benefiting from the continuation of the war. If you neglect their role, the war will continue. And unfortunately, part of the disinformation campaign happening here in the West, the main source was the global network of the Muslim Brotherhood with the service of some circles here in the West. Those who are thinking, unfortunately, who are thinking the strategy of dancing with the devil will merit, I think the result was clear. The result was clear. The Muslim Brotherhood are not just a threat to our country or to our region. They are a threat for the humanity. And those who are trying to portray the position against the Muslim Brotherhood as a position against Islam, it is wrong. I'm Muslim. I am Muslim. The Muslim Brotherhood are not the representative of Islam. And the Muslim victims of the Muslim Brotherhood are even more than the non-Muslim victims. So the position against the Muslim Brotherhood is not a position against the religion. It is not a position against Islam. It is a position against terrorist group that threatening the stability of Africa, of the Middle East, and of Europe. And that's why, as I said, their network in Sudan was behind operation that took place in the European soil and in the American soil. Then September 11th, that happened by Al Qaeda. Osama bin Laden started from Sudan, and also, as some of the distinguished speakers said, during the time of Bashir, the Sudanese migrants was, by statistics, one of the top nationalities that fleeing the country, crossing the Mediterranean to come to Europe. They fleeing their country because of the rule of the Bashir regime, because of the rule of the Muslim Brotherhood in Sudan. So, having Sudan as a base is a threat to the Sudanese, but also it is a threat to Europe. It is threatening Europe by exporting extremism. It's threatening Europe by exporting migrants. It's threatening Europe by networks of regional and international networks that against the security interest of Europe. And I think all of you just last week read the report in Wall Street Journal, just 1 week back. Now, as a price for their return to power, now they are offering to Russia a military base, the first military base in Africa, in Port Sudan, as a price for the return of to power. The first military base to the Russian in Africa has been offered by the Port Sudan Authority, which is infiltrated and controlled by Islamists. They don't care about the security status of Europe. For them, this is what they want, and they can do whatever that in their hand to achieve it. So this will lead me to the way out. Now, the Quad initiative is the more promising peace proposal that's on the table. And just not only because the importance of those who presented this roadmap, but also because of the content of this roadmap. And when you read the 5 principles that came in the statement of 12th of September, number 1, to preserve the unity and sovereignty of Sudan. Number 2, that there is no military solution for the crisis. Number 3, to address the humanitarian catastrophe. And then the roadmap of starting by humanitarian truce, going for negotiated peace, ending by civilian transition. And number 5, to stop any kind of external backing and external support to the fighting parties. But also, one of the most important aspects of this roadmap, that it named the elephant in the room by saying the Muslim Brotherhood and the extremists should not determine the future of Sudan. And this is not the will of the American or the Saudis or the Emiratis or the Egyptian. This is the will of the Sudanese people. They said it clearly in 2019 that the rule of the Muslim Brotherhood should get to an end. And also, there should not be any military rule anymore in Sudan, because the military rule was the source of instability in Sudan. The EU must support the Quad initiative, starting by the humanitarian truce, which is, there is a proposal on the table now. RSF declared that they accept the humanitarian truce. SAF still reluctant to accept. There is a need to put pressures on the fighting parties to sign this humanitarian truce and to commit to this humanitarian truce. But it is also important to implement the full roadmap that come in the Quad initiative. Number two, Europe must be actively working on designating the Sudanese Islamic movement as a terrorist organization. Without that, you cannot target their financial resources, their media propaganda that working to distort the truth about what's happening in Sudan, their line of supply for fighters and ideological hatred speech and all these things. Now, President Trump already initiated a process in the United States to name some branches of the Muslim Brotherhood as terrorist organization. Of course, the American, they cannot forget the headquarters and go for the branches. That they have to start with Sudan and go then for the other branches. But the EU must support this, and they should be designated as terrorist organization here in Brussels, here in the EU, and by the EU countries to limit their ability to disturb things in Sudan. Number three, the EU must continue support the work of the fact-finding mission in Sudan. There is no peace without accountability. And there is no peace if we neglect the atrocities that are taking place now in Sudan. These atrocities need to be documented, and those who did these crimes should be accountable for this. The fact-finding mission is doing a very good job. It is being obstructed now by those who want to hide the truth. The work of the fact-finding mission should be supported, and the recommendation in the report of the fact-finding mission should be implemented. Number four, the humanitarian situation is dire in Sudan. There is a need for a big operation that not under the control of the fighting parties. The UN must assign a regional coordinator to supervise the delivery of aid to Sudan. The EU must support this, and also must contribute to the finance and to provide of the necessary aid that the Sudanese people want. I will stop here, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and thank you very much for the EU for their support all the way for the civilians and in Sudan. To have stability in Sudan, you need a civilian democratic transition. No stability is going to come through military rule. No stability is going to come through the Islamist rule. And to have a civilian democratic transition, we are relying on those who are sharing the same values with us, like the European. And this is a journey that where we are partnered, having the same objective, same goals, same values. And the stability of Sudan is important for the stability of Europe. And thank you very much.